In 2008, a man named James had just sold a small business he'd built for over a decade. He walked away with close to $250,000 in cash, his life's work sitting in a checking account at a too-big-to-fail bank. He planned to take a few months off, maybe travel a bit, and decide how to invest later. He thought he was being smart, safe, but then Lehman Brothers collapsed. Panic swept through the financial system. Banks froze withdrawals. For days, James couldn't access a single dollar. Not because he did anything wrong, but because he trusted a system that was already cracking underneath him. By the time the dust settled, inflation had eaten away a chunk of his purchasing power, and he realized the hard truth. Just because money's in a bank doesn't mean it's truly safe. It might feel secure, but in reality, it's just idle, vulnerable. Now, most people won't face a financial crisis that dramatic, but here's what everyone faces: inflation, constant erosion. Every year, your cash buys you a little bit less. While it sits quietly in your account, the world around it gets more expensive. Food, gas, rent, even the basics creep up in cost while your safe money stands still. That's not safety, that's slow financial decay. And here's the kicker. Wealthy people, they rarely let large amounts of money sit in the bank because they understand something the average person doesn't. Money should move, not sit. It should protect itself, multiply itself, and yes, do it without exposing you to unnecessary risk. So how do they do it? What do they use instead of letting their cash rot in a savings account? That's exactly what we're about to uncover. 7 smart assets that are safer than cash and still protect your financial future. But before we dive in, I want to hear from you. Have you or someone close to you ever gone through a banking crisis or lost money because a bank failed? Maybe it was during the 2008 financial crisis, or something more recent like the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank. If you've experienced anything like this, I'd love for you to share your story in the comments. It might help someone else avoid the same pain and protect their hard-earned money. Now let's talk about the economic reality we're all living in, because this isn't just theory, it's happening right now. Inflation in the US is still high at 2.8% a year, which means your money is quietly losing value every day. It just sits in your account. And with the Fed keeping interest rates above 4.25%, borrowing is expensive, growth is slowing, and banks, yes, even the big ones, are feeling the heat. We've already seen what can happen when things go wrong. One day Silicon Valley Bank was open, the next it was gone. Add in the new import tariffs, and we're likely looking at even more inflation ahead. So ask yourself, what's your money really doing in the bank? It's sitting there, losing value, barely earning interest, and still totally exposed to risk. That's not safety. It's a slow financial leak. That's why it's critical to think differently now. The old way of saving isn't just outdated. It can actually cost you in today's environment. What you need is a smarter, safer plan for protecting your wealth. And today I'm walking you through 7 real assets that do exactly that. These are strategies that hold up, even when banks don't. We'll start with what I believe is the foundation of a solid wealth protection plan, an asset backed by the full faith and credit of the US government, and one that often outperforms what banks offer. Let's dive in. Asset number 1, Treasury bonds. Let's start with something that's often overlooked but incredibly powerful: US Treasury bonds. This is one of the most conservative and reliable places you can park your money, especially in uncertain times. Think of it like this. When you buy a Treasury bond, you're essentially lending money to the US government. In return, they promise to pay you back with interest. And here's the key. Unlike banks or even corporate bonds, the risk is close to zero. Why? Because it's backed by the full faith and credit of the US government. It doesn't get safer than that. Right now, US Treasuries are offering returns above 4% annually, and in some cases, even more depending on the bond's term. That's far higher than what you'd get from a typical savings account, which often pays less than 1%. If you're someone who values security, predictability, and peace of mind, and you're not interested in the roller coaster of stocks or crypto, then Treasury bonds deserve your attention. What makes them even more valuable is how they perform during turbulent times. Look back at moments of financial panic, like the 2008 recession or the recent collapse of regional banks? Investors rushed into treasuries. Why? Because they're a proven safe haven. In fact, their value often goes up during crises, making them not just safe, but potentially profitable during instability. Let me give you a real-world example. Say you have $5,000 sitting in a savings account earning 0.5%. That gives you just $25 a year in interest. But if you put that same $5,000 into a treasury bond paying 4.5%, you're earning $225 per year. That's a huge difference, especially over time. Multiply that by 5 or 10 years and you've protected your money and earned a decent return without lifting a finger. Now here's one thing to be aware of. Liquidity. While you can sell your bond before it matures, the market value might be higher or lower depending on interest rates. So it's best to view treasury bonds as a medium to long-term asset. You won't want to dip into them for emergency spending, but they're ideal for planned savings, like a home down payment in a few years, a child's education, or supplementing your retirement. Getting started is incredibly simple. You can use treasurydirect.gov to buy bonds directly from the government with as little as $100. No hidden fees, no need for a financial advisor. Or if you want a little more flexibility and options, you can go through trusted brokerages like Fidelity or Vanguard. And here's a strategy many smart investors use: a bond ladder. It means buying several bonds with staggered maturity dates. One comes due each year or every few years. So you always have predictable cash flow while still earning long-term interest. It's a great way to balance access and growth. Bottom line, treasury bonds are not just boring old investments. They're a foundation, a place to put your money where it stays safe, grows steadily, and actually serves a purpose. Especially in today's uncertain world, that kind of peace of mind is priceless. Now, if you're someone who prefers something you can touch, something physical, an investment that pays you every single month and still appreciates over time, then you're going to love what we're covering next. It's real, it's reliable, and it could be the key to building income that doesn't sleep. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the second asset, real estate, also known as tangible stability. You've probably heard the phrase, money doesn't grow on trees. But the truth is, when you buy the right property, it can feel like it does. Real estate is a physical, real-world asset, something you can see, touch, and even live in. And unlike digital investments or volatile stocks, property offers something rare in today's world: stability that you can build on. Here's why it matters. Over time, despite market ups and downs, real estate tends to go up in value. It protects you from inflation, because as prices rise, so does the value of your property and the rent you can charge. It can create passive income every single month if you rent it out, while also appreciating over the years. That's double-layered wealth, cash flow now and capital gains later. Let's put it into context. The U.S. real estate market slowed down in 2024, partly because of rising interest rates. But in 2025, it's already bouncing back, especially in urban centers, growing tech hubs, and logistics corridors. Cities like Austin, Nashville, and Raleigh have seen property values increase by over 40% in just the last 3 years. That's not luck. That's wealth creation in motion. And you don't need a finance degree to benefit from it. You just need to understand one key principle: location is everything. Of course, real estate isn't perfect. There are maintenance costs, property taxes, vacancies, and you need to be smart about what you buy and where. But if you get the basics right, choose the right neighborhood, avoid over-leveraging, and manage the property well, it can become one of the most solid, reliable assets in your entire portfolio. Now, maybe you're thinking, but I don't have $50,000 or $100,000 for a down payment. That's completely fair. This is where REITs, real estate investment trusts, come in. They allow you to invest in real estate through the stock market with minimal capital. Companies like Prologis, PLD, or Realty Income, give you exposure to real estate, whether it's commercial properties, apartment complexes, or even logistics hubs, without the hassle of managing a building. They pay dividends too, often monthly, which can feel like you're collecting rent just without the tenants. So whether you're buying a duplex to rent out, investing in a vacation property in a growing market, or putting a few $100s into a REIT every month. Real estate gives you something incredibly rare, a sense of control. It doesn't vanish overnight like crypto, and it doesn't rely on endless speculation. It's a real-world asset that holds up even when everything else feels like it's slipping away. If you want monthly income, long-term appreciation, inflation protection, and something you can physically pass down to the next generation, real estate is your asset. It's not a trend. It's a time-tested wealth-building tool. But let's say you're worried the dollar is losing value. You want something that governments around the world turn to when things get bad. An asset that's literally stored in the vaults of central banks for moments of crisis. If you're looking for the original store of value, one that's been trusted for thousands of years, then the next asset is exactly what you need. Let's talk about good old gold. Let's talk about asset number 3. Gold, the true refuge. When everything around us feels shaky, when governments are printing money nonstop, when banks are caught in scandals, bailouts, or collapsing mergers, gold stays the same. It's steady, untouched, and resilient. For thousands of years, it's been the go-to for kings, empires, and nations. And that's not just some romantic idea from the past. It's still happening right now. In 2025, gold has already smashed through the $3,000 per ounce mark, hitting historic highs. Why? Because the world is unstable. Geopolitical tensions are rising, wars are breaking out, economies are stumbling, and even whispers about the U.S. government reevaluating its gold reserves have fueled demand. Investors are panicking, and guess where they're running? Right into gold, because it's scarce, physical, and indestructible. Unlike dollars, which can be printed endlessly and lose value over time, gold holds its ground. It doesn't need an interest rate to be valuable. Its very existence is value. Now, if you're wondering how to invest in gold, there are 2 simple paths. You can buy physical gold from trusted dealers like APMEX or JM Bullion. They offer everything from small coins to large bars. Want convenience and don't want to worry about storage? Then go for gold ETFs like GLD or IAU. They let you gain exposure to gold's price through your brokerage account, just like buying a stock. But let's be real, gold isn't perfect. It doesn't pay you interest. It won't give you monthly income like rental properties or dividends like stocks. It just sits there. And in a fast-moving world, that can feel boring. But here's the truth. Gold isn't about excitement. It's about protection. When the world burns, gold survives. That's why central banks around the globe keep hoarding it quietly. That's why billionaires always keep a portion of their wealth in it, no matter what the markets are doing. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's legendary partner, once said, "Gold is a great thing to sew into your garments if you're a Jewish family in Vienna in 1939. It's not just a shiny metal. It's financial insurance, a last line of defense, a timeless safety net." So if you're serious about building not just wealth, but resilient wealth, wealth that can weather recessions, political chaos, or even a complete system meltdown, then gold deserves a place in your strategy. You don't need to go all in. Even 5% to 10% of your portfolio can offer powerful protection. But let's say you want more than just safety. What if you want something that appreciates in value and makes a statement? Something that shows good taste, style, and even legacy? Something you can use, enjoy, and still watch its value grow? Then the next asset might already be on your wrist, in your garage, or sitting quietly in your basement. Let's explore it. Let's talk about something that might surprise you. Asset number 4, collectibles and luxury items, because this is one of the most misunderstood and underrated wealth-building strategies out there. Now, most people think investments only happen on Wall Street. Stocks, bonds, ETFs, they're the standard tools. But behind the scenes, some of the world's wealthiest people are quietly building serious portfolios filled with objects of passion. Things that tell a story, spark emotions, and carry cultural or historical significance. These assets are more than just beautiful. They're strategic. Take luxury watches, for example. A limited edition Patek Philippe or Rolex isn't just jewelry. It's a time capsule of craftsmanship, scarcity, and status. These watches often gain value not just because they're rare, but because the demand from collectors constantly increases. One specific model with the right provenance can appreciate faster than the S&P 500. And unlike stocks, you can wear your investment, flexing it while it grows in value. Classic cars are another powerhouse in this space. That 1960s Ferrari I mentioned earlier? Collectors weren't just buying a car, they were buying a piece of automotive history. The same goes for vintage Porsche, 911S, Shelby Cobras, or even early Lamborghinis. They don't just sit in a garage, they become trophies that appreciate over time. And the top 100 classic cars have consistently outperformed global equities over the last 20 years. That's not a trend, it's a pattern. Let's talk fine art. It's not just for museums or billionaires. Art from rising contemporary artists has seen price explosions at auctions. You don't need to own the whole painting either. Platforms like Masterworks let you invest in fractional shares of artwork by legends like Picasso, Basquiat, or Banksy. That means you can diversify into art even with a few $100s and potentially benefit as its value increases. And it's not limited to the ultra high end either. Sneakers, yes, sneakers, have created millionaires. Limited drops from Nike, Adidas Yeezy, or Air Jordans resell for 10 to 20 times the original price. In fact, a pair of Kanye's Nike Air Yeezy 1 prototypes sold for $1.8 million. Then you have things like trading cards, Pokemon, Magic, The Gathering, NBA Top Shot. Some of these have returned more than crypto for early investors. Even Lego sets, which many dismiss as toys, have historically outperformed gold in appreciation over the last decade. A sealed Lego Millennium Falcon or Hogwarts Castle can sell for thousands if preserved properly. Why? Again, scarcity, nostalgia, and a growing buyer base. Here's the key. These items thrive in markets where traditional assets are shaky. When stocks are volatile or inflation eats away at cash, collectors turn to tangible, rare goods as a hedge. It's about emotional investing with real-world returns. And the best part? You can choose what aligns with your passion. Love vintage cameras, vinyl records, rare books, or designer handbags? There's likely a thriving collector market for it. Yes, there are challenges. Collectibles don't offer monthly income. They can be hard to sell quickly, and their value can fluctuate based on trends, condition, and demand. But with research, patience, and the right timing, they can quietly build wealth and even outperform mainstream investments. So if you're someone who appreciates culture, beauty, and has an eye for detail, this asset class can help you invest with both your heart and your head. And with new platforms making this more accessible, you don't need millions to start. Here's my question for you. What's one collectible item you've owned or always wanted to invest in? Maybe it's sitting in your closet or tucked away in storage. Drop a comment below and let's see how many hidden assets we've all been sitting on without even realizing. But now let's switch gears, because not everything valuable needs to be displayed. What if you want part of your money to stay invisible, untouchable by governments, banks, or economic collapse? That's what the next asset is all about, and it's becoming a financial escape plan for millions. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about something surprisingly powerful, but often overlooked. Asset number 5, physical cash. Yes, I know, it sounds basic. You're thinking, cash? Isn't that old school? I use cards and apps for everything. But here's the thing. Cash in your hand is freedom. Freedom from the digital systems that can and do fail when you least expect it. Think back to moments when banking systems froze or broke down. Greece in 2015 had banks shutting down, withdrawal limits, and long lines for cash. Lebanon in 2019 faced a similar crisis, and even here in the US, the 2023 Silicon Valley Bank collapse left many people locked out of their accounts with no way to access their own money. Those aren't just stories, they're warnings. Emergencies happen, and when they do, your digital money can become unreachable. Imagine this. You're driving somewhere, your phone signal drops, the card machine at the gas station doesn't work, and suddenly you're stuck. No digital payments, no bank app, no transfers. That's where physical cash steps in like a lifesaver. Having a modest reserve stored safely, whether at home, in a secure safe, or another trusted spot, gives you immediate access to funds when everything else fails. Now, I'm not saying you should keep your entire fortune in cash. That would be risky and counterproductive. The goal is smart, strategic cash reserves, just enough to cover 1 to 2 months of your basic expenses in case the banking system is down. Financial expert Susie Orman, for example, suggests having at least $1,000 to $2,000 in physical cash at home. This isn't about growing your money, it's about protecting your freedom and peace of mind when the unexpected happens. Physical cash holds real value if you treat it like a safety net, not an investment. Store it discreetly and securely. The right amount, stored wisely, becomes your financial escape hatch, your lifeline. It means you won't be dependent on digital systems, which can be hacked, freeze accounts, or suddenly stop working when a crisis hits. But here's the real power move. What if instead of just holding on to cash, you want to make your money work for you every single day? Like a loyal employee who never calls in sick? The next asset I'm going to tell you about isn't something you buy. It's something you build. And frankly, it might be the most powerful asset you ever own in your life. Ready for it? Let's dive in next. Asset 6, your own business. Let's have a real talk about something incredibly powerful, your own business. This isn't just another investment you buy and hope it grows. It's the one asset you actually build and control with your own hands. When your money is parked in a bank account, it's losing value slowly every day because of inflation, and you have little say over what happens to it. But when you own a business, you take back that control. You decide how it grows, how much cash flow it generates, and when to reinvest or take profits. It's your money working for you on your terms. Now, I get it. The word business can feel intimidating. You might think you need a ton of money, complicated plans, or a big team to get started. But here's the truth. A business can start small, simple, and grow over time. It can be fully digital, maybe selling products online or offering services, or it can be a local shop, a consulting gig, or even something creative like writing ebooks or running a YouTube channel, like this one. The point is, entrepreneurs don't just let their money sit idle. They turn it into machines that generate cash daily. While banks might give you a tiny 1% interest annually, a smart business can deliver returns of 100% or more each month if you put in the work. Let me give you a real example. Johnny owns a pizza place in his neighborhood. He probably started with one small oven in a tiny space, unsure if it would work. Today, he might have multiple locations, a growing team, and a loyal customer base, all because he chose to make his money work for him instead of letting it gather dust in a savings account. And you don't need to be a billionaire to do it. Think about Jeff Bezos, who started Amazon selling books out of his garage, or Elon Musk, who poured his own savings into companies people thought were too risky. Sarah Blakely began Spanx with just $5,000 and turned it into a billion-dollar empire simply by solving a common problem women face every day. Of course, owning a business comes with risks. It takes time, effort, strategy, and sometimes a bit of failure before success. But if there's one asset that can truly transform your life, giving you both financial freedom and personal satisfaction, it's this. Today, starting a business is easier than ever. Platforms like Shopify allow you to open an online store with minimal upfront investment, while Etsy lets you monetize skills and crafts you might already have. You don't need a huge budget or a fancy office to get going, just determination and a good idea. But here's something to think about. What if there was an asset that combines freedom, scarcity, and cutting-edge technology? One that isn't tied down by governments, banks, or national borders? This next asset is controversial, sure, but it's also the fastest growing and most talked about investment in the last decade. It might just be the future of money, and it's something everyone serious about building wealth needs to understand. Curious? Stick with me, and I'll walk you through why this final asset might just be the missing piece in your financial puzzle. You're closer than you think to building the kind of wealth and freedom that most only dream about. Let's dive into the last and perhaps most talked about asset on this list, cryptocurrencies. The most talked about, debated, and frankly, misunderstood asset class out there right now. I want to speak to you directly here because I know many people feel overwhelmed by crypto. The headlines can be intimidating, the technical jargon confusing, and the volatility stressful. But if you can push past that noise for a moment, you'll see why cryptocurrencies are more than just a passing fad. They represent a fundamental shift in how money works in the 21st century. First, think about what money really is. Traditionally, it's been something issued and controlled by governments and banks. Fiat currencies like the US dollar, euro, yen, and so on. These currencies rely heavily on trust. Trust that governments won't print so much money it loses value. Trust that banks will safeguard your funds. And trust that economic systems will remain stable. But as we've seen repeatedly, whether during banking crises, hyperinflation in some countries, or unprecedented government debt levels, that trust can be broken. When it breaks, your purchasing power erodes, your savings shrink, and your financial security is at risk. Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin offer an alternative that bypasses all of that centralized control. Bitcoin's total supply is capped at 21 million coins. No more, no less. This fixed supply makes it inherently scarce, unlike paper money that governments can print endlessly. Scarcity is a cornerstone of value. Think about gold for thousands of years. It's scarce, tangible, and universally recognized as valuable. Bitcoin brings that scarcity into the digital world, making it programmable, portable, and accessible to anyone with an internet connection. Now let's talk numbers. If you'd invested just $100 in Bitcoin in 2010, your stake today would be worth more than $50 million. That kind of return is almost unheard of in traditional markets. Of course, past performance isn't a guarantee of future results, but these numbers illustrate the transformative potential this technology has had and why so many people are taking it seriously. But why is Bitcoin so revolutionary? Because it doesn't rely on banks or governments. It operates 24/7 with no central point of failure. Your Bitcoin isn't locked behind banking hours or ATM limits. It's in your control. No political decision can suddenly reduce its value, and no bank can freeze your account. This decentralization is why many call it digital gold. Michael Saylor, CEO of MicroStrategy, transformed his company's treasury reserves into Bitcoin, calling it the ultimate hedge against inflation and systemic collapse. Yes, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are volatile. Prices can swing dramatically in short periods, but volatility is the price of innovation and early adoption. The stock market had its ups and downs in its early years too. Investing in crypto requires patience, education, and a long-term mindset. It's not about gambling, but about understanding a new asset class that could redefine finance. The barriers to entry are low. You don't need thousands of dollars to start. Platforms like Coinbase, Cash App, Binance, and others let you buy fractions of a Bitcoin for as little as $1. This democratization of investment means anyone can participate. The trick is to start small, keep learning, and build your position steadily over time. And here's a crucial point. Institutional interest in crypto is skyrocketing. BlackRock, the largest asset manager globally, now offers Bitcoin ETFs, making it easier and safer for big investors to add crypto to their portfolios. Countries like El Salvador have adopted Bitcoin as legal tender. Major corporations around the world are adding Bitcoin to their balance sheets. This growing adoption signals that cryptocurrencies are not just a speculative craze, they're becoming an accepted part of the financial ecosystem. Imagine for a moment that gold was the ultimate store of value in the analog world. In that case, Bitcoin could be its digital age counterpart. It offers scarcity, security, and portability in ways gold simply can't match in the modern era. So let me ask you directly, out of all 7 assets we've discussed, from gold to collectibles, cash reserves, to your own business, and finally crypto, which one are you ready to start investing in first? And on a scale from 1 to 10, how valuable was this information for your financial future? I want you to share your thoughts in the comments below because I read every single one. Your journey matters deeply to me. Your feedback helps me craft content that truly supports your goals. Remember, building wealth is not about chasing the latest trend or trying to get rich overnight. It's about learning, making smart decisions, and taking consistent action towards securing your financial future. Whether you choose the stability of gold, the creativity of collectibles, the safety of cash reserves, the autonomy of your own business, or the innovation of cryptocurrencies, the most important step is to start now. The sooner you take control of your financial destiny, the better your life will be tomorrow. This is your moment. Don't let it slip by. Together, let's build a future where you control your money, your time, and your freedom. Now, here's what I want you to do next. Don't just watch and forget. Take action today. Pick one of these assets we talked about, even if it's just a small step. Maybe it's opening a crypto account, setting aside some cash at home, or brainstorming ideas for your own business. The key is to start moving forward. Then drop a comment below telling me which asset you're focusing on and why. I'm here to help, answer your questions, and cheer you on every step of the way. Remember, your financial future won't wait, and neither should you. Let's make this journey together. Your time to build real, lasting wealth starts now. Before you go, make sure to hit that like button if you found this helpful. It really helps me create more content tailored just for you. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell so you never miss out on powerful tips to grow your wealth and take control of your financial future. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Now let's get started. Drop your comments below and let's build your path to financial freedom together.